Recording in progress.
We'll meet in regular session at 6 p.m. Monday, October the 13th, 2025 in the administration building, courtroom. It's 13B West Zavala Street, Crystal City, Texas 78839. On a roll call.
Mr. Reyes Espinosa.
Present.
Mr. Sammy Houston.
Here.
Mr. Cruz Mata.
Here.
Mr. Victor Bonilla is absent. Mr. Gabriel Espinosa.
Here.
Mr. Vince Martinez.
Here.
And Mrs. Peggy Young. Here.
Okay, we do have a quorum. 6, 1 absent. Item number 3, moment of reflection. Item number 4, public comments.
No one.
Number 5, progress monitoring report.
At this moment, we'll be asking Mr. Moreno to come up and present the October progress monitoring. This is a report that will be presented to the board on a monthly basis. Matthew?
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Matthew.
Before we begin, I just wanted to also point out that I did leave the invite to the trunk or treat as well, so that way you guys are free to join us, or you guys are free to have a booth for yourselves and be out there as well. I wanted to point that out as well. So as we begin,
We have a copy, sir, of that.
it's that right there.
This one?
It's that right there, yes, sir. So as we begin, as you know, we take our ISIP or Amira. It's still ice station, but it's now Amira every month. And this, if we want to look, you can see on the screen right there. That's September's. Juan, if you want to scroll down just a little bit, so we can just use the comparison to October. So you can see how we did this past month when we start looking at October. So as we were looking at that first table, we can see that our kindergarten, remember our goal is to reduce the number of level 1s. Our level 1 students we're trying to get them into level 2s and eventually into level 3s by the end of the school year. You can see that in kindergarten, we were able to reduce our level 1s by almost 8%. In first grade, we were able to reduce them by 5%. In second grade, we did go up just a little bit by 1%. Same for third. We held steady in fourth grade. We were able to bring down our percentages in fifth grade by 15. We did increase a little bit in sixth grade by 5%. In seventh grade, we increased it by 13%. And in eighth grade, we went up by 11%. Overall, if you want to scroll down to the next one. Overall, our level 1s, we did go up by a little bit. We went up by 1%. Our level 2s, we dropped 2%, and those level 2s looks like they went into our level 3, so they're making progress. They're moving up 2%. And then we also dropped 3% in our level 4s, but if you look at our level 5s, they went up by 2%, meaning that they grew. They went from level 4s to level 5s, if that kind of makes a little bit of sense. But what I really our goal is, remember, to decrease the level 1 percentage by 24%, and decrease the level 2 and level 3 by 15%, and increase the level 4 or 5 by 53% by May 2027. So we're on our way there. We're slowly making, it's been only less than a month, because we actually tested towards the middle of September, and we tested at the beginning of October. So these students are making progress. It's slow, but it's there, and we're definitely getting there. Yes, sir.
Is this overall?
Yeah, overall. This on the one on this side? Yes, that's an overall. Yes, sir. Overall, all of
There it is, 6.
pre-kinder through 8.
8.
Pre-kinder through 8.
So what you're saying, the goal is to decrease level 1, level 2, and increase level 3, 4, and 5.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so that's the goal. Our goal is to get all our students to level 3. Because level 3, it equates to about approaches on the STAR test. So if we can get them to level 3, that means we can at least get them to approaches. So the goal is to decrease our level 1s and 2s and hopefully increase 3s, 4s, and 5s, you know, with 4 and 5 being the priority, the goal. So I want to bring your attention to that little table on the bottom where it says the ISIP September Reading Baseline Progress Monitoring. So what this table has, you can see the grade levels on the side, and then of course you see 2023, 2024, 2025, and then 2026 being this year. You can see where we started in September every single for the last couple of years. So you can see in 2023, we began in the 2023 school year, we began at a beginning reader of 495. So that's where we started back in 2023, you know, all those years ago. This year, we started at a beginning reader of 390 Lexiles, meaning that we've grown by 105 Lexiles for the beginning of and that's just the baseline for the beginning of the year in September. So our students are coming in strong, reading stronger. We're able to maintain the percentages of where they're at. So that means our students are you know, performing better at the beginning of the year compared to back in 2023. We can see the same in kinder. In kinder, we had a beginning grade in 2023 of 275, and currently we're at beginning reader 250. So they're coming in 25 Lexiles higher, and they're sitting at about the 25th and the 50th percentile. I really want to bring your attention to first and second grade. First and second grade, they began at 10 Lexiles. Now we're currently sitting at 35 Lexiles. Which means a gap of about 25. We've increased to 25%. But if you look at that percentile, that 50th to 75th percentile, that means our students are already performing at approaches on our grade level, which means hopefully, if we look at that second grade one as well, the second graders are at 230 back in 2023. Now we're at 305, which is an increase of 65%. Which also puts them in the 50th to 70th percentile. So that means if we're able to hold them and grow them and continue molding them in the way that we know that our teachers can, that this will be the group of kids that, you know, gets Zavala to that A. That, you know, with the goal of being that A, you know, that 50th and 75th percentile, they're already at approaches. Now our goal is to get them even higher, hopefully push them into that 90th percentile, which I know Ms. Mata can definitely do, especially with her team and her teachers, and they can get Zavala to that A. So, you know, that's these second graders next year when they're third graders, if we can hold that, then we can definitely expect Zavala to get that A. And that'll just be that 1 year. You know, it's not just gonna, if you look, it's not just 1 year. It's gonna be, you know, second graders will be third graders, and then we have the next year after that. And then our kinder starter, we're still barely getting our beginning of our kindergartners. So we know that that definitely can hold, especially under the leadership that's there.
That's great.
Third grade, where we're at currently, right, we want to see where we're at. So 350 is where we were at 2023. We're starting the year at 450 now, which means we're at 100 Lexiles higher than we normally were, you know, in these last couple of years. We're sitting in the 20th or 50th percentile. And if you, like we said, whenever we see that 50th percentile, that's more or less about approaches. And we want, of course, get them to meets because we're going to be pushing them. We're not settling for approaches. We're going to settle for meets, or, you know, we want to get high as best as we can. Approaches equals about a C. So right now, without any intervention, if we were to just kind of stop right now, Zavala, you know, could possibly get us a C or a B. But of course, we know that's not our goal. We want to keep growing our students. So I know over the next couple of months, Ms. Mata is going to definitely put in that intervention and start focusing on those teachers, on those students, definitely push us into that B category where we want to be. Of course, we want to eventually get to that A.
Sure. So,
Yes, sir.
yeah, reading, the lower the number, that's,
In the beginning, at the very beginning, sorry. Oh.
beginning,
So you see where it says beginning reader? The lower the number, that means the further away. But as we start getting past 0, imagine like a number line. So once you get to 0, the higher the number, the more reading, the better it is. So as we start getting to 4th grade, 4th grade is at a 495 Lexile. That's where they back in 2023. We are currently at a 570 Lexile, which means we've increased about 75, which sits them at the 25th percentile. And if we were to equate that to the STAR, it'd be at about approaches, which currently would put Benito Juarez at a C. Fifth grade, in 2023 we're at a 630. Currently we're at a 640, and we do see that 10 Lexiles. That is kind of a little bit concerning because they've only grown 10 Lexiles in 4 years. So that's a spot that we'll be looking at, especially with Ms. Urbaso, Mr. Alvarado, and I know Ms. Garcia and Ms. Mendoza will definitely be looking at that as well, to kind of see what can we do to hopefully increase that number, because that puts it at about a C or a D. And of course, we want to get Benito Juarez out, and we want to put them at that C level. The 6th, 7th, and 8th, before we get into the numbers, I do want to point out that the reason that they're green is because that is the COVID group. So our COVID kindergartners back in 2021, those are now 6th graders. So I know when we saw that, I was like, wow, I can't believe they're 6th graders already. But what that means is these are the kids that are missing foundations. So, these were the kids that stayed home for kinder, didn't go to first, didn't really start school until they were in 2nd grade. So we kind of keep that in mind, especially as we start looking at the percentiles, because they're kind of lower than everybody else. But it has to do with the fact that they are missing those fundamental skills that they didn't get in kinder, first, and second because they were at home learning instead of being actually in school. In 6th grade, 675 is at 2023. Currently, they're at a 720, putting them at about an increase of 45. If it equates to a high did not meet or a low approaches. So I know Ms. Bedmea will be working with that group, definitely. In 7th grade, we have started at 675. Now they're at 810. So they've increased 135 Lexiles, equating them to about a high does not meet and low approaches, which equates to about a C or a D. In grade 8, we started at 725. Now we're at 1,010, which is an increase of 285 Lexiles, which puts them in about the 25th to 50th percentile, which is approaches or meets, which equates to about a C or a D.
I'm sorry, so I'm just trying to understand this. On the 2023, the 6th grade, for example, 675, and then to the 2026. So who's like the 2023, 675?
So this would be the 6th graders in 2023. So which would be probably the C.
This year they started at 720.
Yeah, so they're starting higher than where they previously we've been starting in 6th grade. That's how you would read that. And especially as we kind of start looking at this, one of the big key points that we really want to make is that in terms of Lexiles, this is the first year where in grades pre-K through 8, everybody is beginning on grade level. So, or the majority of the students are beginning on grade level. So we finally closed that gap that we have. Of course, there are still a couple students here and there that we still need to work on, but the majority of our students are beginning their current year on grade level, and when it comes to reading Lexiles. So that's a gap that we've closed, and that's a gap that we continue hopefully to close, and project even further, so that way we can start getting the kids reading at their grade levels that they need to be reading at, and being ready for that STAR test at the end of the year. So if we want to look at the next page one, we'll be looking at early math results. Again, so the first table is just September. We're going to compare that to October. So if you look at October, we decreased our level 1s in pre-K by 3%. We did see a slight increase in kindergarten to 6%, by 6%. In 1st grade, we saw a drop of 8%. So our level 1s are going down. In 2nd grade, we saw an increase of 2%. In 3rd grade, we saw an increase of 13%. In 4th grade, we saw an increase of 11%. In 5th grade, we saw an increase of 4%. 6th grade, 3%. 7th grade, 10%. And 8th grade, we saw a drop by 4%. Overall, giving us an average. On that next page, on the next one, we can see that we had an increase in level 1s by about 3. We dropped our level 2s, so you can see that we dropped by 3%, meaning that we had a couple level 2s that regressed a little bit. So we're gonna have to get on the granular level and see who those students are, so we can make sure that we push them back. 21% they held steady in level 3. We saw a little bit of a drop by 1% on level 2, and level 4 and level 5 held steady at 9%. So again, I want to bring your attention, the goal again here was be to decrease level 1 percentages by 25%, and we want to decrease level 2s and 3s by 30, ultimately increasing our level 4s and 5s by 60%. So our goal is again to get those students to level 4 and 5 by decreasing levels 1, 2, and 3. All right, so when it comes to this table, pre-K, we don't have any grade pre-K because pre-K doesn't have that right now. We will get some once they start testing a little bit more frequently. But in kindergarten, we see that we started at an early math 260. So this is again like a number line. Early math means the further you are from 0, the worse you are. So you want to get as close to 0 as possible if there's an EM present. So we see EM 260. So we're moving to EM 240. So we did grow about 20 quantiles, which puts them in the 20th to 50th percentile. I do want to bring attention to grade 1. So grade 1 is in 2023 was at early math of 140. You can see they jumped all the way across, and now we're already in regular quantiles, and they've jumped to 35. They've grown about 175 quantiles from 2023, putting them in the 50th to 75th percentile. So again, if you remember on the other chart, that first graders were also the same group. So this is that same first group of first graders. They're holding steady in math and reading. So this would be another area, you know, next year, if Ms. Mata is able to maintain and her team is able to maintain those second graders, that would be their first A. And when these first graders become third graders in 2 years, that would be, you know, a second year where they can possibly get an A as well. So, you know, it's not just a one shot done. It's actually happening. We're growing our students. Our students are actually growing. And it's something that we're going to start seeing, you know, hopefully throughout these next, you know, 5-6 years that we're maintaining the students at this level. In first grade, we're seeing 65 quantiles. That's where we're in 2023. We were at 100 quantiles now, so we did grow about 35 quantiles, meaning that we're sitting at the 25th to 50th percentiles. In third grade, our current third graders, we started at 295 quantiles back in 2023. Now we're sitting at 358, which grew about 63 quantiles, putting them in the 25th to 50th percentile, and we're sitting at approaches and meets. And again, that's if we don't do anything, we keep them where they're at. We're sitting at a C and B, but again, we are not maintaining, we're not settling for a C, we want that A. So I know we'll be putting some pressure on those students to make sure they do their best. In grade 4, we're at 475 back in 2023. We've moved up to 508, which is 33 quantiles, 25th percentile, also about a C or a B, and that's at Benito. In 5th grade, we're at 550 quantiles in 2023. In 2026, we're at 605 quantiles. We have a gap, we've grown them about 55 quantiles. As you can see, those are the one of the two lowest ones that we've seen. So we do want to just keep an eye on that, especially at Benito. We know the situation at Benito. We're trying to get them out. So if we can maintain those numbers, get them a little higher, ensure that we get them out. Whether we hope for a C, we want to be, but we need to do what we can do to make sure that we get those students where they need to be. Again, that's at approaches or meets. 6th and 7th and 8th, again, the color code just means that they were the COVID group. And again, you can see it again, we're at approaches, meets, approaches, meets, approaches, meets. And here's where we see our first high did not meet. Again, these students especially are missing those math foundations, those manipulatives, those things that they just didn't get because they were learning on a computer. They started off at 525 quantiles. They've grown to 602 quantiles, which is about a 77 quantile growth, putting them in the 10th, 25th percentile. Currently sitting at high does not meet or low approaches. 7th grade, we started at 705 quantiles. We've grown them to 743 quantiles starting of the year, and grown up about 38 quantiles, sitting at 25 and 50th, putting them at approaches or meets or about a C and B. And then 8th grade, 745 quantiles. We've grown them to 105 quantiles, a change of about 60 in the 10th and 25th percentiles, putting them at high does not meet, low approaches, which is about a D. When it comes to terms of quantiles, this is also the first year that our students in pre-K through 8 are also beginning on grade level. So now we're not just beginning on reading, we're also beginning on grade level in math. So now our students are on grade level in both reading and math. And of course, the goal is to get them as best as we can, so that way we can, rock the STAR test at the end of the year. Do you all have any questions?
I have a couple of two. So what is the plan in order to, you mentioned earlier, holding them. So what is the plan in order to maintain the momentum?
The plan is pretty much not changing what we're doing. We want to, I can't speak for exactly what's happening on the campus, but I know Ms. Mata has a whole bunch of teachers that are not settling for the minimum. They're pushing the kids. We're getting the kids active. We're getting them engaged. We're making sure that they're a part of their learning and not just sitting back and, we're coasting through because we're there already. So, it's not giving up and making sure that we're still pushing the same things that we're doing.
My second question is, I noticed that it's only from PK through 8. What about the high school level? What is the mechanism or the method or approach that you guys use for them, for the high school? Because that's as important as the other grades.
Yes, definitely. So the only thing with that is Amira only goes up to 8th grade. So that's the reason why that they don't have a test. Amira, the highest it goes up to, it's nationally normed only up to 8th grade. I do know, Swift isn't here. We're trying to find something. I believe they found something for reading. We're still trying to figure out exactly how that plays a role and how it compares to Amira. So I know we just haven't finalized that yet. But the reason that we don't see high school here is mainly because the program itself doesn't go past 8th grade.
But in terms of how we're tracking them now, so because we don't have this very systematic, very structured way of looking at data, which is, I wanted to add to what Matthew was saying, or to your question of how do we maintain it. A lot of it is just having a culture of deep data digs, of looking at your data. The data is reported. This is a real quick turnaround for us. We give the campuses a certain number of days to test, a certain number of days to make up, and then we give them a deadline. Then we start extracting the data. We start looking at our levels. We start having those conversations, which we just had last week. So a culture around deep data analysis and really understanding the grade level standards is key to what we're doing and what the principals, their approach to moving the student learning forward. In terms of high school, we're focused very much on curriculum-based assessments. So this is, for the EOCs, we are, number one, making sure that there is a tangible curriculum-based assessment testing calendar so that we know exactly when English 1, English 2, Algebra 1, Biology, and US History are going to test based on their units of study. And then what we're doing once they test is we do what we call a trend analysis to determine which TEKs were assessed and how the TEKs are progressing over time. So that's a conversation we had last week. We did notice in our system, because we did have a data conversation last Friday with the campus administrators, that high school has to pick up their cadence when it comes to testing, because it is through testing and data analysis that we are going to be able to identify low-performing TEKs, especially if it's a heavily weighted and heavily tested TEK. We're able to pull it out, break it down, making sure that we understand why the students are struggling with it. So that process is already in place. I know that we had a meeting on Friday, and I know that Ms. Houston went back, and Matthew, you can discuss this a little because you were part of that meeting. The turnaround as far as looking at data, having conversations about how we're progressing when it comes to student development was a real quick turnaround for high school. I know that leaving our meeting, which we ended about 12:30-ish, she turned around and met with the team leads. Matthew is a team lead for high school. And so that conversation continued thereon. So our focus right now is, and our conversation with teachers is, our focus is to get an A. We've been very transparent with you all about that's our goal. It's not something that is going to happen overnight. An A is designed. You have to actually design your path to get an A. We are well on our way there. We've gone through the first couple of years, which were the focus of the work was more systems-based, more process-based, to getting everybody on board. We are there, and now it's, okay, how do we push through? Because, and this is a conversation that we had with the principals also, is for a very long time, we've been operating from a deficit perspective because our kids were 2 and 3 years behind. That's not the case anymore. Now we are on level. We have worked very diligently these last few years to bring the kids on level. Now the challenge in the classroom, especially as we conduct walkthroughs across the district, the challenge is now making sure that our instruction is designed on level and above. That is our goal moving forward, and that's a conversation that we are having not only with campus administrators, but also with teachers, as especially me, especially that I'm conducting walkthroughs. My feedback is face-to-face. I am making sure that not only just highlighting that we have to design rigorous instruction, but also helping them how to create rigorous lessons in their units of study. So it's literally all hands on deck. Sarah was at a campus today doing her walkthroughs. Noralicia's at the campus doing walkthroughs. The safety team is on the campus doing their own walkthroughs. I'm on campus doing walkthroughs because the A is not going to happen by itself.
So my only concern is, you mentioned data. I mean, we can have so much data, but are we providing the tools necessary in order to improve that data?
In terms of instructional resources, I believe right now the only, well, I can't say the only because that would be relative to principals, but the primary resource that we're lacking right now are the headpieces for testing purposes for the elementary grades, because that is, as was presented last month, a resource that we did not have. We were not prepared for the transition into the new assessment, and so we know that the principals have put in that order. Those orders have been approved. We're just waiting on receipt of equipment. Other than that, there are plenty of books in the classroom. There are plenty of books in the libraries. There are plenty of 3D materials in the classroom for hands-on math instruction. And if there are any other instructional materials that the campuses may need, the budgets are open for them to purchase.
And I can speak on the campus level as well.
I have a question from the Verones. Okay, we have the data up to 8th grade here.
Yes.
Is that data sent to high school, so when they're freshmen, they know how the kids are doing best?
These data pieces we look at together,
But
all the principals
with the
together, but in
freshmen-
terms of meeting with the teachers, like at that level, no, we don't. We don't look at data that, typically they look at STAR data.
Yeah.
Very specific to STAR. But in terms of, this is a very specific way of looking at reading and math progress. We don't, not with the teachers. We meet primarily with the campus administrators.
Yeah, but this could be data that.
Oh, for sure,
with
yes.
the high school,
Yes.
the principal.
Especially because the data is looking so promising.
Yeah, pero like this one's here, I mean,
We've got to work on it, yes.
chair to,
Has the district looked at other, I guess, monitoring programs that works from pre-K all the way through 12th grade or high school?
We have, and we've already begun preliminary conversations. Right now, the issue that we're having is that MERA, or iStation, is tied to TIA, and it is the assessment tool that is in the plan. So we have to make sure that we see the TIA process all the way through before the application, the new application opens, before we can change the assessment piece. But yes, we're already looking at something especially for math.
And in terms of these numbers, how close do they correlate to the STAR?
Like the percentages?
Yeah, the percentages.
So if a student gets to about 50th percentile, if there's a raw score conversion, and it'll tell you like more or less where the quintile is, it's about the 50th percentile as that approaches.
So our ending year,
At meets,
I'm sorry, at meets.
At meets.
I'm
so our
sorry.
ending, I guess our 25 ending ISIP station percentages, how closely did they compare to the STAR?
They were,
They were pretty on target.
Can we show those the next time we have this present, just to see how closely they match out? And Miss, you mentioned that the high school does not have a mechanism like this to monitor the growth, but how is the high school?
Well, we do have a mechanism to monitor growth. We just don't do it in this format.
Okay.
We do it through a trend analysis, which is actually more granular because we're looking very specific teaks.
are you done with your,
yes.
do you have any questions for,
Tell them these are good.
Well, I don't know. Thank you.
Well, the principals are here.
Right here, they'll be the.
The principals are here, yes. Thank you, Matthew.
have, the county judge, right?
No, I don't.
Like-
No, I don't see, no.
We're gonna go into,
Closed session.
closed session, Gonna go into closed session, the Board of Trustees. Authorized by the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, and the Open Meetings Act.
6:29.
What time?
6:20.